So I don't have quite as easy a message for you adults as I had for the kids, but it's kind of along the same line. But I'd like us to think today about Jesus in that temple. So Jesus goes into the temple as the tensions are rising, as the feast of Passover is getting closer, and there are visitors who are coming in because everybody wanted to celebrate Passover with a time at the temple. And as you probably know, but it's a good reminder, temple money was different than Roman money. And you were expected to provide an offering, a physical offering, to be burned at the altar. So someone coming in with Roman money or whatever money they had to change it for temple money. And that's why money changers were there. And it was a convenience to be able to buy your doves or your sheep or your goat or your cow or whatever you could afford to sacrifice right there, because then you knew it was pure and had been blessed, and it had halal. it was marked kosher, basically, kind of, sort of, not taking the Jewish traditions in vain, but it was marked as ready to be sacrificed. So this had been going on. Tensions were rising in town. Maybe there were more and more and more money lenders, money changers. There were more sellers in the temple area because there were more people. And Jesus looked around, and what he saw were cheaters. What he saw were people who were changing money and charging an exorbitant fee, people who were selling these animals for sacrifice at exorbitant rates. He saw the injustice that was happening in God's own house. And his response was not, "Oh, I'm just going to ignore this because it's not my business." He got angry. He drove out the animals. He threw the coins on the ground. It doesn't say anywhere that he hit anybody, but he made it clear this was not okay. And of course, what happened? The leadership of the temple came to him and said, "What right do you have to do this? By whose authority are you doing this?" And his response was, "Tear down this temple and I can build it in 3 days." Like, wait a minute. It took 46 years for this temple to be built. You're not that good. But Jesus wasn't referring to his body, or he was referring to his body, not the physical temple. What struck me as I was studying this text was the phrase, "Zeal for the Lord's house will consume me." What could Jesus do to get the message of God's law through to people who didn't want to pay attention, who were so focused on making money and cheating and just using God for their own benefit? There wasn't anything he could do but turn over tables, chase out the animals, throw down the money. The thing we know here is Jesus was prepared to give his body to end the injustice that existed during the Roman Empire, and for love and for justice of all people. So, question for you: our buildings, our societies, our countries ever worth more than a human life. I firmly believe that Jesus would say, absolutely not. On February 26, 2012, a young man named Trayvon Martin was killed while returning from a trip to a 7-Eleven. He was killed by someone who thought that he didn't belong in the neighborhood. After that person was found not guilty of his death, 3 women, Alicia Garza, Patrice Cullors, and Opal Tometi, responded to Trayvon's death and Mr. Zimmerman's acquittal on social media with the statement, "Black Lives Matter." It was a question as well as a statement, because the question is, do black lives really matter in the United States of America? Their zeal for justice did not let them stay silent. They had to do something. Their determination to ask the question, to make the statement, Black Lives Matter, has led to the Black Lives Matter movement that is here in the United States as well as around the world. It has elevated awareness of the injustices that happen for Black and brown people, actually for all not white people in the United States. Sadly, since they first posted Black Lives Matter, the number of people who have died in police custody has grown and grown and grown. And my question is, when will it stop? When Jesus was asked to justify his behavior in the temple, he put his body on the line. He offered himself as a sacrifice for all. Now we can ask the question, what can we do now? I ask you to prayerfully ask God for guidance. And I ask you to take a look at the Black Lives Matter website, and particularly at the section, the resources, and there's one called Talk About Trayvon. And it's a toolkit for white people. Because the reality is, we have to do something. Jesus overturned the tables in the temple, knowing it was going to upset a lot of people. He couldn't ignore the injustice for the people that were under the thumb of the Roman Empire. We can't ignore the sin that is in our country. That doesn't mean we don't respect the police officers who have chosen also to help, to serve and to care and to protect. It doesn't mean we disrespect our country's leadership. It means, though, we announce, we claim, we name Trayvon Martin. And we say to those who are mourning, I'm sorry. You'll probably hear this a lot of times from me because my experience of this very thing was that when I was sitting in a car driving in Berkeley, California, and there was an interview on the radio, and I heard a mother of about my age of 3 children, just like me, say that every time her children went out the door, she wondered if she was ever going to see them again. And I sat in my car and my knuckles went white as I gripped the steering wheel, because for all the trouble my guys have been in, I have never worried about not seeing them again. That slapped me in the face. What can we do? Jesus chose to face the injustice and do something about it. We can do that too. We can overturn the tables. We can say this is not okay. We can honor Trayvon Martin and all those who have suffered the injustices that are a part of our American DNA now. I invite you to prayerfully consider what God is calling you to do. Amen.